Hey, it's Matt McGinley. I'm coming to you from Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey. This would be a typical broadcast on February 17th. My last broadcast was Valentine's Day, February 14th. In the intervening days, I've had some issues, as many of you have had in the North American region from cold weather, ice, snow, and my the company that I've used for web hosting for about 15 years is a company called GVO, Global Virtual Opportunities. Um, it is a what's called a multi-level marketing company, but the reason I got into it was that I was able to resell hosting. It also had a video, um, something similar to YouTube, in other words, video hosting, where I would be able to put videos on websites but not have them linked to YouTube so that I didn't have to have competitive videos come up when I had embedded a video into a website. Anyway, that's another discussion for another time. So today is February 17th, and my internet service provider, ISP, is still down in an area in Texas known as Shirts. And before I show you where that is and some of the things related to that, I just quickly wanted to put up this article and this photo. This is a family seeking shelter at the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center Tuesday night. This is in San Antonio. And you can see here, um, mom's got one girl with glasses, no shoes, a bag maybe with food or diapers or something. Um, she's mom's wearing pajamas. Second girl, third girl, fourth girl, and dad's got a babe in arms. Now that may not be the dad. That may just be um, people carrying neighbors or whatever. But I'm just saying, two adults and one, two, three, four, five little girls, probably no older than six, in these freezing temperatures. So while I'm sitting here talking about my website and maybe clients' websites, and I've reached out to them and told them the situation, um, and our sites have been down for 3 days. I just wanted to say that before pulling, that call or that email and saying to someone, hey, what's going on? What's the problem? Take into account the wider context and the bigger picture that this is affecting millions of people. And when we're talking about millions of people, um, this is what they're going through. They're not going through um, sitting someplace behind a computer, blasting out, wah 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 wah, customer support. Where's my website? Okay. Anyway, so that's the context with which I'm doing this live YouTube video today for the official chamber. The official chamber site will not be up until we get this resolved. So I'm going to be on YouTube and probably Facebook, for the next couple of days or whatever. All right. Just in terms of where the outage is, just in case you're following this from around the world. And again, there's other things around the world that are the equivalent of this in terms of, um, I'm not going to say poverty and deprivation, but just day to day, you wake up in the morning and you're you face something that you didn't expect to have happen, but there it is. The other thing about this is that if you notice, they're wearing masks. The pandemic is still going on. This is not like just cold, just freezing, not having heat in your house and having to go to a convention center for heat and food and water. This is in the middle of a pandemic. So you can imagine all of these people, all these little girls with masks and everything going into a convention center, probably without social distancing, but they're going to have social distancing, you see. So they can't accept everyone in that convention center. All right. I just want to point that out too. So anyway, this is where Shirts is. Shirts, Texas. It's near Andrews Air Force Base, outside of San Antonio. And you can see kind of, they put the radar up and then just loop the weather. So this is all ice and snow that has moved off. Um, and then Shirts is right down in here. So this ice and rain and stuff has moved off. Um, they've been asked to actually cut power to certain areas to restore the stability of the grid, so that they can actually work on it, I guess. Um, you've got road closures, you've got ice. Tech crews cannot get to vital sections. Fibers down. People have power outages. Road crews are on the road, but it's dangerous. So, you could report the outage. So this is just for the immediate CPS energy for the San Antonio area. If you look at what's going on statewide, and remember, Texas is huge. Texas is a very big state. Um, so this is the outage scale. Nothing out here, but um, as you get into where we were just talking about Bexar, Como, and Guadalupe, the Shirts is kind of right in the middle of all three. So I don't know exactly which power provider or power providers um, are working on this, but that's really the situation. Um, if we're getting the power back up and bringing the sites back online. All right, so that's really what I wanted to come on and talk about today. In terms of videos and being able to talk about marketing automation, one thing I wanted to talk about before I started getting into the nitty gritty of marketing, marketing automation was the fact that we're going to be taking this step by step with people. First of all, we're going to talk about what marketing automation can do, what it can't do, who it's for, and who it's not for. Um, we're going to talk about what you need to have in place for marketing automation and the concept of marketing automation. Um, Probably the number one thing that I would point out is the fact that um, most people that I've talked to, business people, when I mention marketing automation, they get all excited about it and they're ready to go all in with it. Um, and I explain the various parts of marketing automation um, that can be really intelligently managed, that is personalized, based on behavior, what messages people get, based on consumption of content, how those messages can reinforce what the person's looking for, how to integrate search, social media, and email marketing into campaigns that as people visit the website, they're able to be tracked and messages can be personalized and directed and automated to give them a steady stream of content related to the problem that they're trying to solve. All of this without a person having to write an email, all of this without a person having to make appointments. Indeed, when the person's ready to make an appointment for either a demo or a consultation, they can set that appointment on their own. And they're qualifying themselves as they do that. It's not like they have to be, given something to fill out. They're actually self-qualifying. We do something else called lead scoring. So based on what the person's actually consumed in terms of content, how frequently, the value of that content, how important it is, um, attribution, over a period of days or weeks, that lead score increases and the person can see the business owner or salesperson can see how important it is to contact that person and whether or not They may or may not have filled out a form or made an appointment, um, fill out a form for an appointment. You can always reach out and say, look, I've noticed that you've visited our site, you've filled out a form to get free information, but I'm noticing that you know there's some things going on that you might want to give me a call about. Okay, so we're going to be exploring that. I'm going to give you some examples of, on the first place, how it all works, and when you have it in place and how it works, how streamlined it is. And then we're going to go to the other direction and see what do you need to have in place to be able to use these things. All right. Um, Before I leap into that, I'm going to give you really the seven main areas of things to look at for marketing automation. And I'm going to provide that in another video. And then you can follow along in the Facebook group if you want, um, to actually see those videos in place and download any content that you may want to have as you look at it yourself, in setting up your strategy and tactics for marketing automation. All right. So the other thing that I wanted to show you today was, I did an interview with Jen Sutton on EFT and what if, and then I guess you could also call the, since if, since I have these things. I'll explain that. Um, how to kind of, well, first of all, let me just say that there's things that people are having difficulty with in business right now. One of them is um, being visible. I say being visible, meaning, when you go into the office and you see people, you have um, a certain ease because you know that as a person and you're being seen, you're being listened to, and you have ideas that relate to business and your life that you're able to communicate. When we go out now, we're covering most of our face, and most of our face is giving a body language and social cues about how to interact with us as human beings. And unfortunately, with that stripped away, people are probably feeling more isolated than just what the isolation is of the pandemic. Now, not everyone has a vaccine, not everyone is taking the same risks as everyone else, but I'm just saying generally in the population, the majority of the people, when they go out and they go to a store, go to a public area, they're wearing a mask, they're wearing a face covering. All right. Um, so in maintaining this visibility, when you go into the office, there's people in reception, there's salesmen coming by, other vendors coming by, um, there are meetings and conference rooms and so on and so forth. And you're able to see and interact and be visible, and it kind of validates who you are. You're getting social cues back, smiles, laughter, um, handshakes, fist bumps, high fives, and stuff like that to kind of validate that what you're doing is right and correct. And it gives you that feedback that you're feeling good. I'm doing something that's making me feel good and making other feels good, people feel good, and therefore I feel good. All right. So that's all happening. All right. It's not happening as much now. All right. So when you go into a context where you say you do Zoom calls, you do video conferencing, um, you do, even when you talk about um, doing any kind of a phone call, you really do would, want to do a face-to-face meeting. But people are starting to do phone calls more because it's even a different kind of intimacy than a video call. But again, that's a person's choice and their comfort level. Some people don't want to be on video. All right. Now, in the larger context, I remember, I've been doing mobile and um, remote work for, I guess, since 2006. All right. My situation was that I needed to be home with the kids um, from any time that they were home during the day. So by 3 o'clock, I had to be home, and taking them to school in the morning, it just wound up, I might as well work from home. So that's basically what I did. Um, when I worked with a company that was doing artificial intelligence, um, we had a global international team of developers, analysts, marketing people, design people, operations people, executive management, salespeople, global. Um, Not everyone would come on to the call with a video. We saw a lot of people with just their names and their initials up, but not video. All right. That was the norm. All right. Now, because that was the norm and you're not getting the contact with people anymore, the norm is to have that video running. So your background's important, what you wear is important, how your face is important, how your hair is important, the microphone you use is important. People are using all of these as social cues to make a distinction between, is this ABC News or is this Matt McGinley for the official chamber? All right. Um, Someone has a background that has books. Someone actually has a Zoom background that has books. All right. So my point is that there's a lot of people who just have an apprehension of being on video and they're afraid of the video. So what Jennifer Sutton does is she helps people work through some of those fears. All right, just wanted to put that out there. So part two of the video that I did with her, that interview, actually goes over that. So you'll see that in the YouTube channel. Um, Another video that I did, which was back in December, it was December 24th, actually, Christmas Eve. And I had an attorney that was working with foreclosure and debt defense. And because there's a moratorium, um, his business was struggling, but it did not diminish um, his fire in the belly to get information out and help people. And I just said to him, look, the day's going to come when people are going to need you, but they're going to need to know more about you, to know, like, and trust you. So I think you should just continue making sure you get as much content out there that's relevant to them so that they understand what to do, when the wave hits, when the thing hits. The wave and the thing that I'm talking about is actually the moratorium on foreclosures and evictions and that kind of thing in the state of New Jersey, but it's also happening around the country. All right. So one of the things that he said was that he had been speaking to a bankruptcy attorney, and generally he was not a huge fan of bankruptcy attorneys because they tended to, in his words, see every problem as a nail and the solution was the hammer. So that bankruptcy attorney would only um, provide solutions of Chapter 7, Chapter 11, Chapter 13 to people. But he had found one bankruptcy attorney that was actually kind of simpatico with him, in simpatico with him, and had really been able to he'd been able to foster a relationship with this person, um, so that they had kind of a fluid relationship. So something would come up and he would call the bankruptcy attorney and say, hey, this client's telling me this, this, and this. Would you talk to them? And we'll put the foreclosure defense in with it at the appropriate time. So I said, look, you should do a Zoom call with him, just one on one, you two guys with each other, and talk, ask each other questions, and define, what your practice areas are and how you help consumers. Um, and I got excuses back, like why it couldn't happen, and this one had to do this, and this one had to do that. And I was like, look, you're telling me you call this guy all the time. You're telling me that you don't have 30 minutes to do a Zoom call with him to help your business. I don't believe that. And one of the things that I have to do is to facilitate, is to actually, push a business owner or push someone that needs marketing help and say to them, no, 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 that's an excuse. You need to do this. Um, when I'm hired as a consultant, that's a lot of what I end up doing is I say to the business owner, look, you're uncomfortable with this. You're not used to doing it. Here's all the evidence and here are all the other people doing it. Here are their results and here they're being successful. So what is your reason for not doing this? You're telling me it's because you're uncomfortable. Okay, I get it. So therefore, if you start doing it, you won't be uncomfortable doing it, but you have to start doing it. Okay? So What ended up happening was I said I refuse to accept that you've put this call off for several weeks, and you've told me you wanted to do it. So you've told me you want to do it, you're willing to do it. You told me why it was necessary, how it was valuable, yet you keep telling me you don't want to do it. Give me excuses. So I'm not accepting your excuses. Give me the guy's email. I'll email him and tell him we're setting up a Zoom call. And once I moved out into the front position, then it kind of took off. Then it was, the leader felt more comfortable taking a leadership role. He felt more comfortable stating that this is a person that I need to talk to and this is the value of it. And the call went on for about an hour. It was maddening to have to edit it because it ended up turning into like, a documentary's an hour. And, taking an hour long Zoom call and trying to, make it into, something stimulating that's just not two lawyers talking back and forth was a bit of a challenge. I really did the best I can, but I did not want to bring in too many elements, into the video production to really take away from the core aspect of who these two people were as professionals providing legal advice. That was really the main thing that I wanted to get across. Two professionals, two areas of legal practice, and these are the people providing, you know, the free consultations. So when you need to talk to them, you know who you're getting and what you're getting, the level of thinking that you're getting. Um, so that part of it, I recorded on December 24th. Things slowed down. I had actually traveled out of town and started to get into an area of I might have COVID-19. So I had to quarantine for 2 weeks. I did develop a low grade fever. Thankfully, I did not have COVID-19. Um, in the intervening time, the lawyer said something about, my video guy took a break because he might have COVID, which was kind of, you know, frankly, I'm in an in risk group, a high risk group because of a previous surgery. Um, so it was kind of like, no, I'm not really taking a break, and I'm not a video guy. I'm your consultant, and I handle all your marketing. But that's how, again, it goes into whatever it is you need to say or tell yourself about why you're not doing something is fine for you. But you have to look at yourself and say, recognize that and say, well, I'm telling myself that, and whether other people believe it or not doesn't matter. But the question is, are you getting the results that you want? Are you where you're supposed to be? And maybe telling yourself those excuses is one of the reasons why you're not where you want to be. All right. All right. So I've got to get to work. I'm going to put this video out as the live video. You'll be able to see that. I'm going to post the Jen Sutton interview part two, and I'm going to post the two lawyers, Josh Denbo and Lee Perlman. Josh does foreclosure defense, Lee does bankruptcy. I'll post that video for you folks in New Jersey. Um, I'll give you an update on what's happening out in Shirts and the data center, and we'll get into marketing automation and some specifics with that. All right. So listen, have a good day. Stay safe. This is your update from the official chamber. Matt McGinley, Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey, on February 17th, 2021. Thanks and have a blessed